I have a confession to make. There's something I haven't told you, and you are not going to believe it. I'm going to share an improvement I've seen on Carnivore that I've never talked about before. And it might just be something that gets you excited about starting, recommitting to, or continuing the carnivore diet. But before we get into this, I'd like to say a massive thank you. I put out a video a couple of days ago, linked in the description and at the end of this video, asking carnivores who'd like to come onto the channel and share their success stories to please get in contact with me. I also asked people who are watching to check if they were subscribed, because YouTube has this weird jiggery pokery thing that it sometimes does where it unsubscribes people from the channel randomly. And a big thank you, because there was a huge response to both requests. If you'd like to be on and you haven't sent me an email yet, no problem. I'm opening up a lot of slots every day to do interviews, so just shoot me an email at realzerocarb@gmail.com and let me know your name. I'll get in contact with you. We'll set up a date and time that works for you, and we can have a chat. Okay, so what is this improvement that you're not going to believe? First, let's talk about my history with carnivore. I have been carnivore now for 27 months. And in that 27 months, I've seen a lot of improvements. So I'm going to give you a brief history and summary of those improvements first. And before we get into it, just a little disclaimer up front. I want to make this very brief, so I'm going to use very short, direct language. And of course, this is not actually the language that was used at the time by the doctor that I saw or anyone else. I'm just trying to make this as quick as possible for you. So I went to see my doctor in June of 2022 to get some blood test results. And when I walked into the medical center, I walked in with really bad arthritis in my left knee and a weak body. The arthritis in my left knee had been with me for about 2 years. The weakness on my right side was the result of a hemorrhagic stroke that I suffered when I was 17 years old. Now, the problem that caused the stroke all got resolved, but the fact I had the stroke left me with a weaker right side. And so I always walked with a limp. And overall, my right side was just weaker. So anyway, I lumbered in to see the doctor. And the doctor said to me, "You're an alcoholic and you're a pre-diabetic, and I've got some drugs that'll fix you right up." Of course, I'm paraphrasing. Spoiler alert, I already knew about the alcoholic part, but the pre-diabetes was a bit of a shock to me. And I didn't like the sound of the medications. He prioritized getting me off the alcohol first, and that was the first medication he was going to give me. The medication didn't sound very good, especially because one of the side effects was death. So I had been through years and years as a child on different medications that never actually solved the problem they were meant to address, and often exacerbated the problem. So I didn't like this idea. So I said to the doctor, "Look, give me some time. Let me try and work this out for myself. Let me see if I can get off the alcohol myself." So I leave the doctor's office and I think to myself, I need to get some self-control here. I had known for a long time I needed to get off the alcohol, but hearing the doctor say you need to get off the alcohol is something that hit me a lot harder. So I thought, what am I going to do? And the only thing that I've known in my life to ever give me self-control is when I've been on a low carb or a ketogenic diet. So I decided from that point, okay, let's kill two birds with one stone. I can get off the alcohol, and I can obviously get off the junk that I've been eating simply by going on a ketogenic diet. Now, I didn't think it was going to be easy. I've been on and off keto for about 20 years at this point. So I knew it was going to be difficult, but it's really all I had going for me. So I decided right then and there, okay, I'm going keto. And to help me deal with the cravings, I decided I was not going to walk past any shop that would in any way tempt me. Any situation I would be in where I would be even remotely tempted, like going to a bar with friends, going to a friend's house for dinner, walking past the convenience store, anything like that, that was all out. And from now on, I was just going to stay away from everything. And it worked. I was able to get off the alcohol, I was able to get off the junk just by going keto. But there was a problem arose. And I'm not going to go into the details here, but there's a problem arose that I initially thought was probably caused by the excess meat consumption or the excess saturated fat consumption that I now had. But I realized after doing a little bit of research, the problem was probably coming from the vegetables that I was eating with the animal products that I had in my keto diet. So I ditched the vegetables as a test, and what happened? Lo and behold, the problem ceased, and I've been carnivore ever since. So, what improvements did I see on carnivore? Well, firstly, the arthritis went away. A couple of months in, there was no more pain. Walking up and down the stairs, it was just like it had been 10 years before. Didn't have to hold the handrail, could run up the stairs, could run down the stairs, could walk normally, well, as normally as, a person that's had a stroke can walk. And it was just magic. The other thing that improved, and this was over a slightly longer period, maybe 3 months to 4 months, my gait started to improve. My balance started to get better. And this, coupled with the fact that I no longer had the arthritis in my left knee, meant that everything just suddenly became easier. Walking to the train station every day, walking from the train station to work, suddenly became effortless. It had been like a nightmare before. It had just been like so much effort to get to work each day from the train station that I would sit down at work exhausted, and now it was gone. I still have a bit of a limp on my right side that I'm always going to have, but the balance and the exaggerated limp is no longer there. And the first time I realized that these things had been changing was when I had to cross the road. I was crossing the road and the lights started to change and the traffic was going to be coming in my direction very soon, so I had to run. And normally when I'd start to run, because I'd had this pain, especially from the arthritis, my brain would kind of freeze as I'd start to run, as if to say, this is going to hurt, don't do this, right? And so as I started to run, I got that feeling, but I had to keep going because the traffic was going to start. And so I continued running and I realized there's no pain anymore. And my balance is better. And it was just like, this is amazing. And so I, like, even after I could stop, I still continued to run because it was like it felt good.
Haven't been able to do that for decades. Thanks, Carnivore.
So those are the massive things that improve for me. But there's a few others. I no longer have gum disease. I no longer have sensitive gums. I no longer have bad breath. And finding out that I no longer had bad breath was talking to my wife close up and realizing she was no longer recoiling as I was talking to her. And this was just amazing for me. Some other things that have improved: eczema's gone, brain fog's gone, I'm sleeping better. But these are things I've talked about before. I've covered all of these things before, and I tend not to constantly bang on about these things because I have made videos in the past from time to time where I've talked about the improvements that I've had. But what's this big thing that you're going to be so surprised about? What's this massive change? Well, it's something that I've noticed over time, but kind of not really noticed. And it's a thing that's just been kind of getting a feeling or a realization that's just been getting stronger and stronger and stronger over time. And today I kind of thought, yeah, maybe it's time to talk about this. So you'll know that I do a lot of interviews on my channel. I've currently got about 700. And prior to going carnivore, I could not have done this for a few reasons. It's one main reason, but for a few reasons. They kind of call them subsidiary reasons, um, are that I could have never had not the confidence to do it, but every time I did an interview, it would be so stressful in the lead up to doing that interview, and I would be second guessing, and I would be writing out what I wanted to say and all this kind of thing in the interview. It would have been a bit of a nightmare. So there's that kind of over planning thing and self doubt and all that kind of thing that would have been a kind of subsidiary issue. But the thing that is so massive that really has improved is that before carnivore, I had a real problem in conversation with people and a real problem keeping track of what people were saying. So and this would happen everywhere. This is like business. This was in social situations. This was everywhere. So I'd be in a conversation with someone and someone would be telling me a story. Again, could be business, could be social, anything. And could be a family member. And they'd be telling me a story. And I'd be listening to the story and I'd be taking it in. But at some point throughout their story, I would just zone out. And I'd be looking at them and I'd appear to be listening, but I would just completely zone out. And I'm not sure, but I guess many people would be looking at me thinking, is he really listening to me? But I would suddenly, like, I'd be zoned out, and then I would suddenly come back and go, I don't know. I don't know what I can say when he finishes talking or when she finishes talking because I I'm not sure. I think I know what was being said, but I'm not sure exactly what was being said. And this was so many conversations. Of course, if it was a conversation where it's just quick back and forward, then that's fine. But when I had to actually listen, I would just zone out. And part of that I think is because I, would be listening to someone and then kind of a thought would come into my mind and it would be like, hey, you've got to do that thing at work today. You've got to remember to send that email or you've got to remember to finish doing that task. And that would kind of take me off into this place. And then refocusing would be difficult because I'd missed something. And anyway, so because of that, prior to carnivore, there is no way that I would have been able to do these interviews because people would be telling me the story of what they've experienced on carnivore, what they experienced prior to carnivore, and I would just be zoning out. There was no way I could have done it. It's only because of carnivore that I can do these interviews because I can focus. I can focus on that person telling me their story and I can ask them questions about everything they've just told me because it doesn't matter what distractions are going on around me. I can focus on them. And this is actually kind of a sad thing to admit for someone who's almost 50 that it's only in the last few years that I've got over this problem. Like for a good amount of my life, and I don't know what brought this on. I'm not sure whether it was from something to do with a stroke. I'm not sure if it was something to do with the copious amounts of alcohol that I've consumed. or something else. But it's quite sad that I feel like the last 2 years is I've woken up to a problem that I had. And I would really like to know if anyone else has experienced this kind of thing. And if you have, please comment below. Please let me know your thoughts. If you've got feedback for me, please let me know your feedback. And if you want to discover the stupidest arguments against carnivore, check out this video next.